I think the last button is when we work with a tour manager. I think that comes back to touring and being on the road with that. We talked a little bit about that on the first panel, about when to decide how and who to work with. Any thoughts on tour management? Is it necessary to have somebody on the road with you that's not a member of the band? I know that it takes a lot to keep a band together on the road. I don't know how many bands here have been on the road touring, but I tell you, you better be a pretty tight unit before you climb in a vehicle with your friends and think that you can handle a week.
Sleeping on floors.
Relationships end. Two-person relationships end by going on vacation. So when you put 4 of you in a band or 6 of you in a band, you better be pretty tight. And adding a managerial role to that scenario could probably change the dynamic significantly. But any advice on that?
If you can get somebody to be your tour manager, why not? If it's your buddy that wants to come help you schlep stuff, load in stuff and sell your merch while you're playing, I mean, it's great to have somebody else there to, handle some of the traffic when you're playing, when you're doing things. Do you need it? No. I know for when Soulfound was touring a lot, we just did it ourselves. I mean, I'm sure you guys will have a guy.
I think first you want to define what a tour manager is, because it's kind of confusing. It's confusing. It really is a confusing term. And for years I never really understood what the heck a tour manager does. On a larger level, if you're a band that's playing larger club dates, we're talking 300 to 1,200 cap clubs. A tour manager traditionally is the person that makes sure that the singer gets out of bed on time and gets to the airport, and make sure everybody's happy, and that the rider's correct and the beer's backstage, and make sure the check gets cut, for the agency and all that sort of stuff. And basically, they're babysitting the band. And I've been lucky enough to know some guys that do this for a living and make great money, and tour manage very, very huge bands, and some of them eventually get burnt out and want to kill the band. But on a smaller level, for more independent bands or of all different genres, a tour manager traditionally is somebody that gets to play bad cop. And therefore, there's a degree of separation between the artist or the band and the club, or the bouncers, or basically the myriad of anybody involved business-wise that the band having one too many and saying something that may be true, but they probably shouldn't have said, can leave a bad taste in their mouth, and you never get booked in that club in that town ever again. If the tour manager says something like, oh, hey, you shorted us $50, what's up with that? They're more likely going to, oh, sorry, than if the lead singer from the band, hey, dude, you shorted me $50, what's up with that? We'll go stay. And then it becomes a personal issue and not a business issue. But you really do have to be at a certain level before, somebody's not going to put up with that kind of misery for free. Going on the road is a very hard thing, and it's hard. It strains relationships. You notice first 3 days, it's kind of a rule, everybody loves each other. After the first 3 days, everybody's idiosyncrasies start to get out of control, and people start to get on each other's nerves. By the 5th and 6th day, if somebody hasn't gotten in a fight yet that's really hurt somebody, you're probably going to be all right. It starts to cool off after that, and then everybody kind of settles into a groove. But it's like that. It takes a week before everybody calms down. But it's a very, very tough thing. But tour management, usually there's somebody in the band that's gotten you to the point, one of the members has gotten you to the point, or a manager or somebody has gotten you to the point where you can tour, and you can play at larger venues, and you can play in front of people. And usually there's a certain amount of maturity that goes with that person. If they're on the road with you, normally they wind up acting as the de facto tour manager.
I might add a type of tour management that I think goes beyond traditional tour management, which is what Sean was just describing. And I'm starting to see this in some bands. Again, nobody local yet, but tour manager is more of a social networking group for the band, whose job it is basically to do all the crap that bands hate to do when they're on these short mini tours, which is to go on Facebook and on MySpace and blast lots of information and get in touch with maybe a local fan club. I know some tour managers who basically that's their job. They're not necessarily negotiating fees with promoters, but they're actually acting as the band's personal social networking group. That might be something, if you've got a buddy or a friend who's a fan of your band, approach them and say, look, would you be willing a day of shows to sort of do these email blasts for us or do this? And they might be willing to do that for a while, if it's something that you just can't stand doing. Again, I haven't seen that much here in Tampa, but I'm seeing that with some bands I know from other cities, and I think it might make its way down here too.
I'd say too, if you get to the end of a week-long tour and it's falling apart, and your records aren't selling, and nobody likes your T-shirt, and the fans aren't coming out, and It's just, you know, you maybe put 2 years, 3 years into this and it's just not looking good. I'd say, at the end of the day, the bottom line is you've got to be happy. So never be afraid to fire them all, start over, you know, rebuild, you know, rework your content and redefine what it is that you're doing so that it fits into whatever market you're in, especially if you're not on the road testing out different markets. Dial something in that works, you know, unless you're a masochist, I guess.
Now, a touring tip also that I learned from Semisonic, the closing time band, is that on the road, it's okay to not talk to each other when you're driving somewhere. It's okay. You got to give each other space. You don't have to be joking the whole time. Don't prank somebody. You know, give them their space, because you start pranking people, you start stealing. You can have fun.
Unless you have a video camera.
Yeah, then it's okay. But I'm saying
you can put that on the website. That's all.
Yeah, but people might get kind of old.
In the name of content.
But give yourself some space. If you have to stop at McDonald's to eat, it's okay to eat separate tables if you need a minute to be away from each other. Because I've been with 4 dudes in a freaking Toyota 4Runner for 2 weeks. Yeah, it's not fun because it smells like ass, and somebody ate the last of the peanut butter, and the sun chips are gone, and we're pissed. So it's like it can get so volatile over so little. Somebody ate scoops that would last the peanut butter. That was an argument by band. Why did I do that? I haven't had a sandwich today. What the hell? So give each other space, set your boundaries, communicate. It's like a marriage. It's worse than a marriage because you have multiple people, unless you're polygamous.
I think we need to open it up to some questions from the audience. If anybody has any questions, let's start on this side because that's where the microphone is. I see one in the back.
Yeah, what do you guys think of joining the musicians union, and is it good or bad on the road? Is it helpful to do that?
It depends on what kind of artist you are. It really depends. If you're a member of a talent agency and you're in a calypso band and you're an entertainment band that's getting booked at entertainment events like at House of Blues and things like that, I think that there's a bunch of benefits to that. I looked into it at one point, but it really depends on the genre that you're in. And what I would do is I would consult other groups that you're familiar with that are in your same genre and take a poll and look around and see if anybody else is doing it and there's a reason why and why not. Most venues that I've been involved with because of the kind of music that I play, it has nothing to do with that. But if you're with a bigger talent agency and you're more of an entertainment kind of band that people aren't specifically going to see you, you're part of a show, or getting booked by Disney or people like that, yeah, you probably should be.
I'd say that unions usually a lot of that is negotiation too. So unless you're working closely with a manager, if you're more down the tier, if you're like a side guy, if you're like the trumpet player, and there's a risk of you going out on the road for 7 days and then not getting paid, yeah, I would cover your ass. I would either be a part of, I would somehow ensure that negotiation is in place.